Meantime, President Trump, as she just mentioned, expected to speak about that attack in about an hour.
Our political analyst, Ric Epps, is back now with a look at what's next, really, which is on everybody's minds. Rick, good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, what do you think the president's going to say at 8 o'clock this morning?
I think what he'll probably do is, of course, what he needs to do from his position, right? In his mind, he has to give the tough American stance. We've got the weapons. We've done what we need to do operationally. We've shown that we can, do this, and it's justified. The actions are justified. Now, I'm going to preface that by saying, just because he says that, doesn't mean we don't have to look behind the scenes and look at the reality of the situation, right? So we have to be very careful about, what you hear versus what the actuality is. So I would caution people not to not listen and believe what he says, but to do your homework, right? That's what I would say to do, because there's things behind the scenes that he can or cannot say because it's policy issues.
But what he did say, what we have seen him say in the days leading up to this, Rick, he drew a line.
Yeah, he did.
And he said, if you attack any American interests, we will come back. And he was mentioning shiny equipment, and he was saying we're going to attack cultural sites.
Yeah.
How do you walk back on that? Because it's very clear.
Well, it's interesting because people have short-term memory. That's what you count on in that reality. But you're right. It's when you draw the line in the sand, and because now his credibility is on line, right? And to sit back and this is where it gets sort of dicey. To walk back from that, because once you start attacking cultural sites, first of all, it could be a war crime, right? That's one of the issues. But the second part is,
and he did walk that back.
Yeah,
he did take that back because he realized, oh, is that I'm not going to break it.
He didn't realize. Some people told him you need to walk it back because he realized, right? Or somebody told him he had to realize. But the other part of that is because to attack the cultural sites, you're attacking the core of the people. And that's a whole other kettle of fish, right? So he's got to be able. He's going to come up, I believe, and say this was the right thing to do. That we justified action. And if Iran does anything else, we'll rain fire down on them, right? And there's some people who resonate. When we saw Lindsey Graham say, if they hit us, we're going to, hit us back, we're going to do this. Well, wait a minute, we attacked you first. So now you're saying if they attack us back, which is within their right under the Geneva Conventions, that you're saying that's wrong, and now you're going to rain fire on them because of an instigated attack that was perpetrated by us. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm concerned about that. And by the way, even Secretary of State Pompeo saying that Americans were more safe because of Soleimani's death. Yeah. I'm not saying he wasn't a bad guy, but to say that's very disingenuous because it's not true. We're much less safe.
Iran's foreign minister saying they don't want to escalate this. So I think on a lot of people's minds, we're kind of hoping that this is it. Yeah. Which is kind of why we're waiting at 8 o'clock in the president to see what because he might make an announcement saying, this is it. Yeah. Nobody died. There was a warning. Yeah. Is this it?
It could be. In the short term, it certainly could be. It could de-escalate if both sides.
It won't benefit anybody.
Yeah, it doesn't benefit. The war doesn't benefit anybody, and if anybody dies further, then it certainly doesn't benefit anybody because that means you'll be killing civilians probably, right? So the idea is that if they can both say to their people, us in America, and of course the Iranian leadership can say, okay, we've now pounded our chest, we've now given the tough guy stance, and it resonates with the hardliners on both sides. We have our own hardliners like they have their hardliners. Then that's a win-win for both, and you've got a state of detente where you stand off, everybody stands on their side of the line. The question is, can that really occur? Is that really the result or can the de-escalation really occur, or is it this is something that could quickly spin out of control?
I was wondering, Rick, as the news was coming out last night, I started thinking about the U.S.'s allies, even Iran's allies. Yeah. And what was happening behind the scenes, things that we didn't see, phone calls that could have been happening because we have allies in that region. They have allies in the region. This is not just a fight between the U.S. and Iran. Yeah, absolutely, as a matter of fact. And again, from a security standpoint, also from an economic standpoint, right? The allies are calling for the most part, hey, can you guys stand down? Because the consequences of this will, especially the oil. That's the big chicken in the room, right? So you've got the Iranian oil, you've got Iraqi oil, which is a huge portion of the world global supply. Do you want to impede that, which really could cripple the global economy, as I mentioned the other day? And so for our allies, they're going, hey, we've got people in the region, we've got security interests. You need to stand down. The problem is that we have pretty much recently ostracized a lot of our allies. And so the question is, will Trump
adhere to the request and push from global leaders who are saying stand down, or will he continue what has been his tradition, which is to sort of, I'm going to do what I want to do and the rest be damned, and that's a concern, and that's why that's the question mark in the room, because we know historically that he has a tendency to try to react on things in a way that may be different than we expect.
A lot of the allies in that region were asked if they had anything to do with this. They all quickly said, no, we didn't have anything to do with it. So you think about Kuwait, UAE, Qatar. They got the World Cup in a couple of years. You got Saudi Arabia. These are booming economies. They want to encourage travel. They want to encourage tourism in that region of the world that a lot of people, quite frankly, are scared to go to.
Yeah, and let me also say that the Iranian people themselves, most of them are, these are people who are not against the West. Most of them are actually fairly pro-West. So, if we can't help stabilize that and allow the growth to happen from within, this could have a long-term ripple effect. So it's really important that we give the people inside who have very little power at this point a chance to enact the change they want. And if we keep pushing this direction, we're going to get the opposite effect of what the long-term, hopefully, goal that we want to see for that country.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
All right, Ric Epps, thank you for that.
Thank you.